What's up, guys? Andre here, and I don't even care about doing a normal intro, but I just want to talk about ARMS right now. So we've got Roger here, RogersBase. We've got John here from NomComms, and we are here to talk about the ARMS test fire because, my God, I don't know how you two felt. I had a freaking great time with that. I just want to rave about how great this game is so far.
Andre, it's the test punch.
Test punch, you're right.
Test fire.
Exactly, you can't call it the test fire,
right,
man. The test punch.
Yeah, so what did you guys think of this? You know, we got to play with the public for about an hour or so. What are your initial thoughts so far on playing ARMS online with everyone?
Well, this is my first time playing ARMS, and I have to say, it's something special. Like, there's never been anything quite like this before.
Right?
Really awesome game. And it's 2 AM at the moment. I've just come off the test punch. I'm pretty tired, I'm pretty overwhelmed, and I just had an awesome time.
You're riding the high off the ARMS test punch, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
How are you feeling about it, Roger?
I mean, I felt kind of unfair to me, to be honest, because we were playing it a couple hours actually before it had started. We had just gotten our review codes, and so I went and I joined a couple parties, and I ended off with like 84 as my number.
Oh man,
so,
just demolishing everyone.
Just demolishing everyone.
Yeah, I said that on our own stream too. I'm like, this really isn't fair, because not only was I playing it all day, but I was at that test event, or the preview event a few weeks ago too, so I've had a lot of time with this game.
Oh, right. See, so I had played it. I had played it initially at the preview event that was in Los Angeles, and then I couldn't do the San Francisco event because I was out of town for ACEN in Chicago. So I wasn't able to actually go to the same preview event you went to, but I still sort of like had muscle memory from when we did the preview event in LA.
Right.
And then, yeah, when we got our copies this morning, it was like you, me, HMK, that one Marco guy from Nintendo World Report, and we were just going at it. And then as soon as the test fire started, of course, naturally, I wanted to jump on the test fire and then completely annihilate everybody. Using the skills I've amassed.
Roger.
The test punch, I know, I'm sorry. And yeah, thankfully I could use Ribbon Girl, who was my main, and it was just, it was a load of fun.
Were you using Ribbon Girl the whole time?
Of course I was using Ribbon Girl the whole time. She's my main, man.
Oh man.
I gotta say, this is a little strange, but I gotta point this out. I don't like one thing about Ribbon Girl, which is it seems her canon age is 17. They should really make it 18. Ribbon Girl should be 18 years old.
I'm not going to ask you why. I don't need to know why.
I want Ribbon Girl to be 18.
Wait, how old's Min Min?
Yeah.
Min's 18. You're safe.
Okay, that's alright. Oh, phew.
Is that who you were using, John? We're using.
I use Min Min the entire time.
She's pretty
Min
great.
for
There
life.
you go.
Yeah, I wish I had been able to settle into a single character, but I was jumping around for the streams. I wanted to show them all off. And I think, I mean, the fact I was able to do that shows how accessible this game is. Like, I felt comfortable with all the characters, but yet, at the same time, there is a depth here. Like, this game is like Smash Brothers. It's easy to get into, but there's so much more to it. And that's why I'm hooked on this game. Like, I can keep playing endlessly because there's so much to take in and so many things, so many ways in which you can improve at playing this game.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm certainly liking it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I think going into this, I even like after the ARMS Direct we recently had, where they showed off all the new modes and everything, I was like, oh, you know what? Like, this is going to be a lot of fun, but I could see myself getting tired of it after like an hour or so. And I mean, that is not the case. I don't think I've turned off my Switch all day. And so,
yeah.
And so just even with the test fire alone, I was having an absolute blast. And yeah, I love it. I love the characters. I love the music. I love the stages. I love the gameplay variety. I love all the different modes. It's just, it's so good, man. It's so good.
Were you guys both using the, you were both using the thumbs up grip, right, for the dual Joy-Cons?
Yeah,
of course,
I actually got it wrong at first. I was holding it almost like you would in a Joy-Con grip, where they're kind of facing each other, and you couldn't really move around properly.
I've heard of some people doing that. It's an easy mistake to make, right? Because that's how you hold them normally.
Right. Yeah. So I was in the testing mode at the beginning. I was just wondering what I was doing wrong, so I had to properly pay attention to the diagram. But I've seen quite a few people make that complaint too. So maybe we're just all a bunch of dumbos.
The game really should have done a better job of saying that for the test punch. It's like, yo, they've actually should have shown someone holding the controllers the right way. Because I had the benefit of going to the preview event, so they showed us how to hold them there. But yeah, it's
same.
It's a really goofy way of holding the controllers.
But it is quite natural though, because like you hold them in your fists almost. They can't just get into your fists. They're just It's the most natural way of holding them for ARMS.
For as goofy as it looks, I agree. It's surprisingly comfortable. Like, it works really well holding them that way. What did you think of the controls in general, anyway, at this point?
Yeah, once I got them, I thought they were pretty much perfect. I didn't have a single issue.
Yeah, same. The only thing I think somewhat is difficult to do, and I think I'm going to get used to it after playing it more, is guarding. Everything else seemed pretty natural, but I still found myself kind of flubbing up with the guarding. I know you're supposed to sort of like turn the Joy-Cons in a little bit,
Yeah,
but
tilt
it
them
just
inward.
yeah. It just, I don't know, it didn't always work for me, and sometimes I found myself accidentally like doing a grab, like because I was pushing out and sort of turning in. And I don't really think that's anybody else has had a problem doing that. That was just something I sort of had to get used to. But that is something that I found myself doing. I kind of mess up guarding a little bit. I found that if I just turn them in all the way, like
Right.
almost as if I was turning them towards me, then it's never an issue.
Okay. Yeah, I will say there was a little bit of a learning curve with them. Like, some things are a little bit tricky. I think the controls were great overall, but I have a similar issue with the guard, and I think part of it too is just guarding works a bit oddly in this game because you can't do it most of the time, because if you have an arm extended, you can't guard at all. You just have to get used to that when you can guard.
Yeah.
But on top of that, if you guard too quickly, that can activate the punch instead. So that is a little bit, that can be a little bit cumbersome, but that's something I have to improve as well. Like, I barely guarded during this test punch, and it's something I should do more.
It is cumbersome, but I think it's also it's the mechanics of the game though. Like, you're meant to wait for moments to make your opponent feel exploited. Like when you do your grab, you can't for a few seconds you're open to attacks, and I think that's the point of that triangle of grabbing and punching and guarding.
I totally agree. That's what makes the game feel so unique. It is very different from anything I've played before, partially because of the controls. But also, in the test punch, we had multiple ways of playing too. So we were playing in the party mode in the test punch, and it was cycling us through 1-on-1 battles, 2 versus 2 battles, I think 3 and 4 player battles, as well as volleyball. So I guess let's go ahead and talk about the other main fighting modes first. And I want to touch on the 2 versus 2 right off the bat, but I think that one works the best of the non-1 versus 1 modes. What did you think of that? How you have the tether to the other person, if one person gets thrown, you're thrown together.
Yeah, it's certainly the most exciting, I feel like, of all the different modes, because then if your partner ends up going down and then one of your opponents goes down and it just becomes a 1v1, you've got these two people that you sort of have to grab onto and you're punching. It's like, I love it, man. I really, really love the way the tether mechanic works. And I didn't think I was going to when they first announced that, like, you're sort of attached to each other. But like you mentioned, when you're grabbing and then you sort of throw and the other guy gets chucked along with you, it's really satisfying, especially if you're the one doing the throwing.
Especially in DNA Lab, you're throwing them through test tubes and stuff, like both of them.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd like it either, because I'm more of like a one-on-one guy when it comes to Smash Bros. I don't really tend to use the 4-player option that often. So I thought this would be like a throwaway mode that I'd never really touch, but yeah, it was awesome. And there's such a different dynamic between the 4-player mode and the 3-player mode.
Right.
So I found the 3-player to be almost a little like you're ganging up on one person a lot of the time.
The biggest issue with the 3 and 4 player battles is targeting. Like, because you have to manually switch who you're targeting by pressing, if you're using the Joy-Cons, you have to press up on the D-pad, which is a pain in the ass to reach.
Yeah.
I just found it to be a little bit annoying because that mode kind of encourages like turtling, like just hang back, don't attack them, just conserve yourself until one person's down, and then go for the person who's left, who's already at a disadvantage because they've probably lost some health at that point.
I mean, that's how I beat you, Andre, when we were playing with Marco. That's the only way that I won, was backing up, letting you two fight it out, and then me sort of being like, okay, I'll turn over to the side and then punch you.
Right.
I didn't think they were quite as tight as just the tether. The tether mode was really fun, whereas the 3 and 4 ones were kind of loose in comparison. I wasn't a huge fan of them.
I think something they could do to fix it, because I almost feel like they have to fix it, is it should be based on damage dealt instead of maybe just trying to survive. Like, instead of being based on KOs, maybe it should have worked. Like, maybe if you get knocked out, you lose points, but you come back to life, and the goal is to inflict more damage. That would kind of solve the problem of someone trying to avoid the battle actively.
I like that idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious if they're going to take that into consideration, though, and actually adjust the main game. If, like, they heard all this critique from the test fire, and like a lot of people had the same sort of opinion about turtling, if they do end up changing it on release day.
I hope so, but I do think that could be an issue. I think it's a little bit less of an issue with the 4-player battles because everyone, like, that just kind of pulls you in. But with the 3-player battles, it's so easy just to sit it out and not even bother attacking people. So, yeah, so I hope they do address that. But, I mean, I think with the idea that they're taking the Splatoon model of adding new content constantly, and we saw how with Splatoon, they redid an entire arena. I could totally see them, adjusting things, as the game progresses. Like, okay, volleyball. What did you guys think of that mode?
That's my least favorite.
Really?
That's,
I have to agree, it was my least favorite too.
Even compared to the 3 or 4 player battles?
Yes.
Oh, well,
absolutely.
actually,
I don't
no,
like volleyball.
Okay.
I've changed my mind there, actually. Yeah, it was my second least favorite mode.
Alright.
Out of the 3.
So I want to hear your thoughts on this, John, because I don't know. Andre and I have been playing all morning, and you were just playing with this test fire. So
That's true.
I am
Right.
curious as to what you think about volleyball. If you actually did not, if you didn't like the other stuff less than you liked volleyball.
I mean, it was fun. It was different. It's a nice change of pace compared to the actual fighting. But I just found, if a player gets behind, they're completely screwed over. If you've got 4 points, they're not going to recover. And there were so many matches where I get points quite early on, and then the other person just kind of struggles around, or even I struggle around. And yeah, it just feels a bit clumsy, in my opinion.
To address your point specifically, I guess, with being 4 behind, for instance, I think that's part of the problem with it being timed, right? Because if someone gets far ahead, there comes a point where you just can't catch up. But then again, the match is a minute, so it's only a few seconds before you're into the next round or whatever. But I can see that, it is easy to just fall behind and not be able to catch up.
See, that's the mode I had the most issue with the targeting with, because I'd always find myself turned around, and then once you're turned around, just like you mentioned, it's so hard to get back, because you're trying to punch the ball, and you can't, it's going into your court, and there's really no other way to adjust it other than very quickly sort of strafing to the side and jumping, but that basically takes up 1 or 2 of your turns, so by the time you've sort of reset yourself, there's no real way of coming back.
I did find, though, that the game seems to be pretty forgiving with the angle you hit the ball at. I hit it from behind the ball several times, and it would still bounce toward the net.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it does bounce up and again towards the net a little bit, but not as much as I think you would need to actually do well. Especially because the arms could go over the net. You could just punch over the net and then keep it in position.
I love that, though. I love, this is no rules volleyball. You can punch wherever you want.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I think I want to spend more time with this mode. It is just mindless fun, and I don't think I've really gotten a proper opportunity to give it a chance. So maybe my mind would be changed in a couple of weeks. Guess we'll see. Mindless
fun's kind of a good way of referring to it, because I look at volleyball as kind of the same way I look at the mini games and the Mario Tennis and Mario Golf games, right? It's not a core part of the game. It's something that pops up occasionally that it's a nice distraction from the action. It's a break from the fighting, so...
Distraction from the action, man. That's a pretty good way of putting it. I feel like that is a good sign for the game, though, that I'm less interested in the side modes than I am for the main mode. Because that was my main concern, was I thought the main mode was going to get tiresome after a while, and I wasn't really going to enjoy it. And the fact that that's what I keep coming back to, I think is a sign that they're really onto something with this game.
I think you're...
Because there's a lot of the time... Right? Because I feel like there's a lot of times you'll play a game and those extra modes will sort of be there so you don't get bored of the main game. And I found myself not getting bored of the main 1v1 action, and then going into those other modes, I was like, alright, this is a fun change of pace, but let me get back to the main dish,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's actually kind of nice when you go back. You had the break, but now you want to get back into it. You're waiting for it.
Right.
In recent months, they've done such a good job marketing this game. Because I don't know about you guys, but when it was revealed, I didn't really feel it that much. The footage just kind of had the fighters loosely throwing punches at each other, mostly missing each other.
Right. It looked really
boring.
But
then we've had 2 directs for it, which were both incredible.
Yeah.
And now everyone's had a hands-on time with the Testpunch, which is just such a cool way to get people to try it out.
Oh, absolutely. I was saying before, they need to do something for this game like they did with Splatoon, and sure enough, they did with the Testpunch. Because going hands-on with this game is really what can convince you. Because even up until the preview, I was starting to warm up to it. I've always liked the game, but I was never sold on it. But when I played it at the preview event, that's when I'm like, damn, this game is fun as hell. And, and putting it out there for everyone to play is such a great idea. And from the early reaction I'm seeing, that seemed to be the right thing to do. Because everyone I've seen on Twitter, everyone's having a blast with this game.
Yeah, and I also think it's cool that they launched this when they did with the Testpunch, because it's right before E3. It's going to be on people's minds so that it doesn't get lost within the E3 hype. Because the fact that this is releasing the week of E3, right? Yep. Like, I think people are going to be more concerned about the stuff that gets announced there. So by having the Testpunch now and then continue on towards release, it's going to keep that momentum going, and then it's going to make people go, after E3, they see the lineup, say, you know what? I really enjoyed my time with the Testpunch playing at a friend's house or something, or I enjoyed seeing the footage of this and hearing impressions of it. I want to go run out and get a Switch and play ARMS for myself. So I actually think it's smart, not just for the people who already have a Switch who can play the Testpunch, but I actually think it's really good because it gets the word of mouth out there for people who don't have a Switch, who then might want to play it because everybody else is.
There's one more, and speaking of, you know, the chance to try this game early, we also got a good, this also was a great test of the online. How is the online going to work in ARMS? And I was blown away by how seamlessly this worked. I didn't have a single disconnect. There was one person that was disconnected, but myself, I had no issues. It was throwing me into games constantly, and I love the interface. Like, it is such a cool design. How it throws you into this room with a bunch of other people, and it groups you up with them randomly. And you can even see in real time what's going on in their own matches. You can see people losing health in their little bubbles. I don't know if you guys noticed, there's a clock around, like, you can just barely see around each of those circles, showing how much time is left in their match.
Yes.
Like, that is ingenious. Like, I'm like, is this a Nintendo game? Like, did they actually nail online for once?
I think I've never experienced a better online fighter, honestly.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I don't think there's a better online fighter, including Street Fighter, including Smash Brothers, in terms of interface and in terms of throwing you right into a match.
Right. Like, if you think back to Street Fighter V, that had an awful online launch, like it barely functioned. Whereas this is not only sleek, but it's pretty much flawless when it comes to connectivity.
I didn't notice any lag at all in my time. Like, I was concerned about that, because even in Mario Kart, you'll come across occasional lag. And it's not a deal breaker, but it is annoying when it happens. And in a fighting game, that only would compound the problem. This ran flawlessly, in my experience at least, even in the 3 and 4 player battles. I didn't notice any perceptible lag at all. And I'm kind of blown away, like, how well this worked. Like, it was, I love that there was no downtime between matches. Like, I wish, like, I want them to go back to Mario Kart now, redo that online, make it like ARMS, because I love not having, like, a minute wait between games. Like, it just throws you right into the next one when you're done with one. That is so great.
Actually, I think I kind of understand the smoke between the mirror. I mean, behind the mirrors, or in front. I don't know whatever the smoke mirror term. I can't think of it right now because I'm thinking about ARMS. But I think the trick to this is because you throw the arm, and sure, you can curve it after the punch is thrown, but the primary action of the exactly right. And so you could still kind of adjust it, but the main trajectory is still launched after you first throw the punch. And the other actions, like the way the characters either move or dash or jump, it's much slower, I feel, than in a normal fighting game. And so there's almost like sort of a charge up every time you sort of slide before you jump. The way you sort of strafe. So I think that's sort of the way they're getting around it. And that's how there's really no lag in the game. Even I think when the items drop and items get thrown into it, I didn't notice any lag. So, yeah.
I think you might be onto something there. It was great across the board. I think they had a good variety of characters, modes, and even stages. I wish there were a few more stages in there, perhaps. But besides that, I thought it was flawless. So, do you guys have any final thoughts at all before we wrap it up here?
I think flawless is the word. I can't floor it. It was just a fantastic little demo.
It was.
I mean, I didn't try out the traditional controls. Not sure if you guys did.
No.
Let me just say this. I can't imagine them working. Like, I don't want to try anything else. I love how the controls worked as is with the Joy-Cons. And this is one case, they don't feel like a gimmick at all. They feel essential. Like, I loved how they worked. They gave you such great control of your punches and everything else you can do as well. I can't imagine playing it any other way.
Yeah, I use gyro controls when I play Splatoon.
Same here,
yeah.
And so I'm used to motion control, but this, like you just said, is totally essential to the game. I feel like if you're not playing with motion controls, you're not playing the game the right way. Honestly,
exactly.
And I even feel like
Splatoon.
Yeah, and I feel like it's even with the motion controls in this, I feel like you can't pull off advanced techniques without motion control. Right. I think you're almost hindering yourself by using the basic controls.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think you are. Alright, I think we're about done here. So, Roger, where can people find you at?
RogersBase everywhere on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, and on Instagram. And also on my second YouTube channel, Game and Vlog, where I talk about video games. And I'm going to have a lot of ARMS gameplay videos coming up really soon. But you should subscribe to my main channel, RogersBase, RogersBase, because I have a very fun ARMS video coming out next Friday. I just finished the script for it, and I am very proud of it so far. So check it out.
Can't wait. I'm looking forward to that. How about you, John? Where can people find you at?
You can find my YouTube channel NomComms, where we review Nintendo games and also do a bunch of other stuff like top 10s and all that jazz. And I'm also on Twitter at NomComms.
And you'll find links to all of those in the description below. And of course, make sure to stay tuned to GameXplain for lots more on ARMS, both the Test Punch as well as the final game once we can talk about it, and everything else Nintendo Switch as well. Catch you guys later. Bye.